In the movie Lord of the Rings, at the beginning, there's a scene by Bilbo Baggins, and he says the following to his party guests. He says something along the lines of, I don't know half of you as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you as well as you deserve. And I've often remembered that quote, and it always makes me smile when I think of that quote, because it captures so much of Bilbo's character. As there are those that he loves, and then there's those that he's like, I tolerate your presence. Now, that's not what I'm trying to communicate in this video, not in the least. But here's what I do want to say. I don't know you in some significant ways. And I want to acknowledge that at the beginning. I don't know you as well as I'd like. I don't know you by way of your interests, by way of your experiences, by way of your convictions and thoughts and hopes and dreams. I want to know you, but I don't know you well enough yet that way. But here's some significant ways that I feel that I do know you. I feel I know you because of our shared common experience as human beings. While I may not know your specific experiences that you've come through and lessons that you've learned and convictions that you hold presently, I feel I definitely have a kinship with you, a closeness in our shared humanity, where I know what it's like to have desires. I know what it's like to experience some of the emotions that we go through, from sadness to anger to happiness. I think we share some of those experiences, and we can in some way feel for each other when we describe those experiences to each other. And I also know something for sure. Even though I don't know you personally yet, I think I know for sure that you, like me, are a messy human being. We collectively, in our messiness, did not come pre-baked in a perfect form. In fact, I believe each of us came into existence kicking and screaming and fighting and crying. And we had to go through some experiences in life where we grew through those experiences, where we had to learn things that were inappropriate, things that we shouldn't be doing, and things that we should be doing or committing ourselves to. Now, along that spectrum, we still find ourselves in different places on that line, if you will. But even as we reflect on our commonness that way, it's with great certainty that I can say you and I are not perfect. In fact, even in this very moment, we're continuing to try and figure out our world. We're still trying to navigate and figure out, what does it mean for us to take up space in existence? What does it mean for us to be who we are? How do we get to know ourselves? How do we get to know the world around us? We don't come with a comprehensive access to all the embodied knowledge and existence that's out there. We're finite by nature, each and every one of us. We have our limitations. And it's on this very premise that I make the following assertion, that I think each and every one of us is in desperate need of a personal integrity reset. I'm calling it a personal integrity reset. I say that we're desperately in need of a personal integrity reset because having come from a stock, having come from a background, having come from our very nature of being imperfect and figuring things out by making mistakes in life, some of those lessons that we've had to learn incorporate in a significant amount what does it look like for us to engage with our world honestly, with alignment from our internal value set to the way we behave from it. We are desperately in need of a personal integrity reset for a few factors, because along the way, I believe and I feel, from my observation, that as we've tried to figure life out in our younger years, we've come to imbibe some patterns and character habits out of preservation to try and protect ourselves from painful experiences that we may have gone through. And many of these character habits, many of these patterns of behavior are driven based on dishonesty. Dishonesty to try and survive. We know what it feels like to be ostracized, perhaps. We know what it feels like to be made fun of. We know what it feels like to have been abused, whether emotionally or physically. We know what it feels like to feel left out. We know what it feels like to experience that sense that we may not be good enough. And so to try and protect ourselves from these experiences, we've imbibed certain patterns of behavior and habits that enable us to at least in some way feel safe, because we're shielding ourselves from the potential of these painful experiences. But many of the ways that we incorporate those measures are done with dishonesty. And as a result, we may feel safe as we shield ourselves from one another and the potential impact of harm, but we also increase in our sense of isolation and distance as we start having that sensation that we aren't really known for who we truly are. We present an image of how we want to be known or seen or experienced. We give a very good presentation and we're amazing actors in this department. But a lot of what we have experientially gone through is to try and say, how can we present ourselves to the world now in a way where we can be perceived as lovable, as likable, and where they may not have access to who we truly are. And we might be successful, many of us, I know I was for many years, we might be successful in selling this image of competence, of confidence, of the ability to walk forth as if you have everything under control, while internally we may be feeling so alone, so isolated, because no one actually knows who we truly are. No one knows what we truly believe or feel. No one knows what it means for us to be us. And it's a scary proposition to suggest ever sharing that vulnerable side, because we learned once upon a time, this is the part we keep hidden and away so we don't get hurt again. And so for that reason, I say, because of our common humanity, because of our common experience as messy humans who are not perfect and who are still trying to find it out, figure things out, as fellow humans who would be the first to say none of us is perfect, it's on that basis that I assert that we are in desperate need of a personal integrity reset. It's personal because I'm not talking about your field of work, your professional career, where there's another level of integrity on display. See, many of us are so competent in that world of business and work and career. We've learned our craft very well. We might be amazing at what we do. And we might fulfill the demands of the job with integrity. We might write a story with integrity. We might fabricate steelwork or woodwork with integrity. And we might do all the parameters of what our work demands from us with such excellence, and yet still feel alone, because where true integrity starts isn't at the workplace. It starts within us. We may care a lot about our work while we neglect our personal development of aligning and living by our value set. True integrity, I believe, starts off on the personal realm, where we begin with ourselves first, where we begin to learn what it looks like to be honest with ourselves. So it starts off with a personal classification. We're talking about personal integrity here. The integrity that emanates from internally within you, where only you know you as you know you. You may have successfully fooled yourself trying to believe another story, but you know deep down that it doesn't quite resonate with the truth. And along those lines, what does it look like to come into alignment with saying, here's me seeing myself for who I truly am? It starts off with that personal component. So it's a personal integrity, meaning what does it look like for you to align with your values as you know yourself truly and to live out of those values. And then the reset comes because we need to reset this. It's easy for us. Let me say it in this way. It isn't hard work. It doesn't take a lot of energy for us to be dishonest or to engage with our world with a lack of transparency. That takes no work. That's actually easy to do. We've done this for years. We know what this is like. It's a really easy slide into that track. It's not helpful. It's actually quite destructive. And I know that from personal experience. But what takes a lot more work is to be honest, to clarify what you actually mean for yourself and to those around you, to be able to work hard at investing in yourself in a way that brings you more into alignment with what it means to live a good moral life in a way that you understand what that looks like. That's why we need to do a reset on an ongoing basis, because this is not our pattern that is effortless. This takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of investment of energy. It isn't natural for us to think this way. We have to train ourselves to move down this trajectory and to do it consistently over and over. And that's why I say reset. What does a personal integrity reset look like for you? It starts from within you. It's personal. It regards who you truly are and what you truly believe, your integrity, as far as what you know, and then how you want to act. And the reset comes in because we need to do this ongoing. I've made this comment in past videos that our commitment to living with integrity, pursuing integrity, and aligning with integrity is a lifelong pursuit. It's not like we just gain it in one moment and now we've got it and we're good to go. It's a thing that we keep on applying over and over again because the moments for which we can practice it come over and over and over again. So that's why I say, dear listener, that it is critical, it is crucial. We are in desperate need of daily personal integrity resets. And I say daily there too, because this is an ongoing thing. It's a commitment for a lifetime. Even me, years into this now, I'm still on a daily basis seeing those opportunities come in my life, in my sphere, where I commit myself to it, saying, yes, I need to do this for me. I need to make sure that this is evident in my life. This is really critical for me. I'm desperate for it, and I'm always on the lookout for saying, how do I continue to quench this thirst for integrity, personal integrity in my life, by doing daily resets? What does it look like for me today to commit to what integrity looks like? How do I live with this? How do I make this more a pattern of the way I think and behave so that it becomes a part of my culture, part of my ethos, part of my behavior? This is what I want to commit myself to. How can I stay the course on a daily basis? How can I be on the lookout for opportunities where I'm like, I can take it easy. I don't want to take it easy. I want to keep this forefront so that I don't diminish my pursuit and engagement of it in this space. This is why I say we're in desperate need of this on a daily, ongoing basis because of our humanity. We're messy. We, on a daily basis, need to figure out, what does it mean for me today to do the right thing, to live by my values and principles, and to follow through with my actions? How do we continue to put this on our radar in an ongoing, present way? We're desperately in need of a personal integrity reset in a day when we look at the landscape of humanity, you see such drastic evidences that integrity is vacant. It is not highlighted at all. It is not esteemed. It's not addressed in a way that it ought to be. Here are some consequences I would propose to you of not choosing to apply daily personal integrity resets in your life. Consider these for yourself. I know as I was considering them for me, I was like, these are pretty weighty. These are heavy. And I hope you feel a sense of weight behind these opportunities missed when you neglect your personal integrity reset on a daily basis. Number one, it hinders your personal growth. You're unable to acknowledge the mistakes you make. In fact, you start making concessions for those mistakes, and you start getting entrenched in them, and you start believing the story that I'm not as bad as I'm not as bad as other people. And the reality is, unfortunately, that others can see how messy we are more than we can see it for ourselves. That's an indication that we're not being honest with ourselves. We hinder our personal growth by neglecting to acknowledge how we need to work on ourselves. Number two, it creates a negative self-image. This is a really, really heavy one, and I experienced this. I'm getting emotional even just thinking about it. How over the course of years and over a couple of decades almost, committing to trying to figure things out in the dishonest category without integrity, my self-image took a huge hit, devastating hit. Can you relate with me in the following ways where, as you keep on progressing and trying to figure things out without committing to integrity, the sense of guilt and shame grow deeper and take root in your soul, thus continuing to diminish your lack of worth. In fact, your self-esteem plummets when you avoid addressing what integrity could look like in your life. And as you grow in these awful experiences internally, as you personalize them, saying, what kind of a person am I, like lacking in integrity, and the kind of shame that I'm carrying, and the kind of guilt I'm walking around with. And for me, it played out by driving me to isolation. Here I was amongst people who loved me and wanted to invest in me, and they said so many beautiful things to me, and yet not once in that whole time could I ever take them seriously? I knew that they were being serious and I knew they were being honest and genuine, but I couldn't believe it because I knew who I was and how I was stuck. I was stuck just believing the narrative, the storyline in my mind that I'm worthless and I'm shameful and I deserve to be set apart. And so that drove me into isolation. That one's a heavy one. Consider further how it damages relationships around you. There's the loss of trust. There's a loss of grace amongst your friendships there. The loss of community perhaps ensues. Loss of support. See, we were made to be social and to connect with those around us. That's why we even talk about this theme of integrity, because it only makes sense when we're in community. And yet, when we don't commit to it, the damaging effects on our relationships, whether romantically, platonically, familially, like in every way, the consequences are huge. And for me, those consequences wreaked massive loss. They wreaked massive loss in my life, painful loss. Consider further the hopelessness that neglecting integrity in your life applies. I got to a place where hope was barely there. I didn't even think change was possible for me. I thought I was stuck. I thought this was my course in life. And of course, as a result of that, there was depression, there was isolation, there's dejection. You just continue to spiral downwards. Do you see like how heavy it is, dear listener, when we neglect the opportunity to do a personal integrity reset on a daily basis? This is the stuff that just gets sewn deeper and deeper into our souls, into our very existence, and it diminishes the worth in life for us. We may be in the middle of a sunny day and yet it's just gloomy inside. There's nothing worth pursuing or living for. These are heavy in their consequences. Before I move on to the benefits though, if you're relating with me, I feel you. I've been there. I'm describing from my own personal experience, and I'm describing it as explicitly as I can so that you could perhaps also maybe catch a little whiff of what it might be for you. If you're hearing and you're like, yeah, that's me, let me encourage you by way of saying there's hope. There's hope, and that's why I'm doing this whole thing, is because I want to offer you hope. I want to invite you to something different that is redeeming, that's redemptive and beautiful, and it's almost like you're reclaiming your life back so you can live it on purpose. Please subscribe if you're liking where this is going, because that's what I want to do, is to create this community that communicates from the mountaintop. We have hope. We don't have to settle for our current existence, trying to fumble our way through while we still experientially wallow in the painfulness of it. Here are some benefits, promises, if you will, for those who do seriously consider applying a daily dose of personal integrity reset. Listen to what some of these benefits are. Number one, you build trust. You build trust, first of all, with yourself, because finally you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I know who I am and I know what I'm about. And I like what I see. I like the starting place. I'm not staying here. I'm continuing to progress forward, but I'm going to acknowledge where I'm at right now, and I'm going to accept me for where I'm at in this present moment, even as I continue to commit myself to personal growth through integrity. This is a beautiful thing. This is a powerful thing. This is a game changer. When you're able to start off with trust with yourself first, forget trust with others. Start off with yourself. Can you trust yourself first and foremost, and what your intentions are? Can you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am driven by a purpose for why this really matters? This really matters because I want to reconnect with who I truly am and what I'm about. I want to get to know myself well enough so that I know what my pathway in life is, what my purpose is, and how I'm going to go about and execute living for my convictional values and living in consistency internally and externally. This is powerful. So you start building trust with yourself. You start building trust also with others around you as you develop stronger relationships, and opportunities start coming because you build a consistency that lends credibility to your display of integrity. It becomes a good quality integrity because of the consistency factor again there. Furthermore, you increase your amount of self-respect. Remember, I was just telling you how for years I lived with a negative view of myself. My self-worth was nil. I had no self-esteem. And yet when you choose integrity, your self-respect begins to come back. Your self-esteem, the way you see yourself and feel about yourself, starts to change. And that is a beautiful transformation. Consider the beautiful metamorphosis of the caterpillar that goes into the cocoon and comes out this beautiful butterfly that is now airborne and can go and fly. That's what I'm describing for you. That's, I think, what is really possible for us. Even as you reconnect with your self-respect, you're driven by honesty and consistency that integrity brings into your life. That alignment, that it's powerful. It really is powerful. By the way, I make no apologies for getting emotional. One of the things in life that we've imbibed in our cultural context is that men aren't supposed to cry or show emotion, and that's a weakness. And I utterly reject that storyline. And I want to normalize what it looks like for us to express our emotions, because that's a beautiful expression of who we truly are and worthwhile affirming. Another beautiful benefit that comes from those who commit to personal integrity resets is that you're able to re-engage and reconnect with your sense of purpose in life. You see, for so long we've been so worried, and we may still be, about what others around us are thinking or how they're perceiving us and how we can fit so that we're not like out of line with other people's expectations. But what really is needed here, and what's really necessary and critical and crucial, is how can we find our primary purpose as a focal point on working on ourselves. We have a big enough job to figure ourselves out and how we can become better, to worry about trying to figure out how other people perceive us or how we perceive other people. Let them deal with their stuff. Focus on yourself and make yourself that purpose. The primary place from where you see your world is from within yourself, but you need to know yourself first. Start figuring yourself out. And here's a beautiful place. You're a big enough project to work on for yourself. What does it look like for you, dear listener, dear friend, to start working on you for you, and what makes you you, and how you can step into that with confidence and boldness as you present yourself to the world saying, this is me and I'm unapologetic about it. That's a beautiful perk. Consider how committing to a personal integrity reset on a daily basis also helps you make better decisions. Helps you make better decisions because now you have crystallized what your values are. You've done some internal work. You know what your convictions are. You're committed to it, which enables you now to know how you're going to respond, where your boundaries are, where your non-negotiables are, where your lines are that you draw, and you're able to communicate that. You're able to be really specific in what you say yes to, and you're very intentional when you say your no, because you know what matches and fits for you and what does not. You are able to make better decisions in the course of your life from the reference point that is you. That is, wow, like huge. And then finally, it really sets an amazing example for those around you. When you commit to a personal integrity reset, you start inspiring others by the way you're living consistently with your values. Let me tell you, the majority of people in the world today don't have access to this. We're still floundering, and we're wasting so much time as we look around and try to align with values externally. But when you get to know yourself well enough and you start living in alignment with that, and when you start presenting that in a consistent way, it's noticeable to the community that you are rubbing shoulders with in a way that inspires them to also consider what that looks like for them. You become that catalyst for others to build momentum to something that is worthwhile, where they can they can also approach this opportunity and imbibe the benefits that you and I are committing ourselves to. This is a beautiful thing. Listener, if you are enjoying this, please press subscribe. I am actively making a whole community here that is passionate about inspiring others and the world by commitment to integrity consistently applied in daily doses. If this is something that really resonates with you, I would love to have you join in and follow along and participate actively and engagedly. If you're loving it, please drop me a comment in the bottom and let me know you're on the same page. You're rowing in the same direction. We are moving forward together. I'd rather not do this alone. That's why I'm doing these videos. I want to expand the community to say, are there other like-minded individuals like me who are passionate about seeing this trajectory going forward? This is worth my while. This is why I like making space and time for this. It may be just one person who is saying, okay, I want that. That's good enough for me. That's good enough. Let's start with one person and let's continue to inspire and encourage even more still yet. That's worthwhile. Take a moment, quickly drop me a line in the bottom. I'd be super encouraged. These changes, let me just come to land the plane and finish this video here. These changes in our personal lives, these promises, if you will not happen until we consider in a desperate way our need for a personal integrity reset applied daily. Let me say it again. These changes will not happen unless we are so committed, we're so desperate, we're so hungry for it. These changes will not yield their benefits and privileges to us. It's only when we commit ourselves with tenacity. It's only when we commit ourselves intentionally and investedly, wholly. We're coming to it with everything we've got, saying, I need this. There's a story of these two twins. The older and the younger, they're so diverse and different. The older was a hunter. He was rugged, he was hairy, he was strong, and he loved being out in the wilderness, like hunting for game. That was his thing. His younger twin brother, was slim and he wasn't as hairy, and he liked staying close to home with mom and tending to the home, and that was his thing. And the story goes on to say that one day the older one, the hairy one, came home and he had a terrible day trying to hunt, and he hadn't been able to catch anything. But he comes home, he's famished, he's hungry, he's tired. He comes home and he sees his brother cooking this beautiful soup, this beautiful lentil soup, and it smells so good. He says, give me some of the soup or I die, he said. He's at the point of like expiring. He's like, I'm so desperate for food. Would you give me something? I wonder if this isn't why they say don't ever go shopping when you're hungry, because you sort of like get way more than you need. But this is the kind of hunger I'm describing here, dear listener, that we need to imbibe for this personal integrity reset in our lives on a daily basis, because we are messy human beings. And if we were to stop this pursuit, we would shift back into that trajectory where we start sliding towards chaos. We start sliding to all the things that what we have said we don't want to do that anymore. There's some lessons that we don't want to learn again. That's what I know for me. There are some extremely painful lessons that I don't want to learn again. I want to learn the lesson just once. Once is enough, and I don't want to relearn them again. And so that's why I commit myself as tenaciously as I do to this pursuit for me personally. It's only when we commit ourselves with desperate pursuit for daily personal integrity resets that we start seeing the fantastic transformation that makes us into a more beautiful version of ourselves. And we start living life with a satiation of beautiful appreciation for all that is. We start walking around and saying, wow, this world, I know is beautiful and colorful now, but now I'm seeing and experiencing a lot more of it because we've cleared up space in our mind. Integrity, as it's applied to our mind and our hearts, clears up space for us to now focus on the things that really matter, on ourselves and the way we're engaging with our world. This is what I want to strive for. This is what I want my legacy to be. It's not only to stay in this lane, but to encourage so many more of you to join actively, wholeheartedly, because when we don't do this, we start dying internally. We start losing hope. We start diminishing. We start losing our impact. There are some devastating consequences should we neglect opportunities on a daily basis for personal integrity reset. This is a lifelong process. Don't try to jump to the finish line in one day. Start small. I'd love to hear your attempts, and maybe if you want some ideas or suggestions, love to hear from you. Drop me a line. I've got an email at personalintegrityreset@gmail.com. I'd love to hear some feedback there from you. I'd love to hear your comments down in the comment section below. If you haven't already done so, I'd love for you to join along. I would love your partnership in this. I don't want to do this alone. I can't inspire a world alone. I have a better chance when you join with me. If this resonates with you, do consider joining along. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and to consider and to be challenged. And I hope together we can continue to experience more videos where we talk more on this theme of integrity and why it is so necessary in our personal lives first, and then in this world at large, as we emanate what it could look like in its beauty and in its splendor. Have a fantastic day. I can't wait to see you on the next video. Bye for now.